All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. It is that time of the week, folks. My weekly picks in the world of the National Football League. I got things started on the right foot this past Thursday as I picked the Buffalo Bills to go on the road and knock off the New England Patriots. But I did not expect the Bills to do it in such dominating fashion as they are still showing that they are the team to beat in the AFC East, in my opinion. Now, with that said, we have some good football action on tap for tomorrow, as well as a Monday night affair. And with that said, here are my picks for week number 13 in this NFL season. Now you're going to have the 4-7 Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to take on the 5-7 Atlanta Falcons. And the question is, who will do enough in order to win? We've seen both of these teams struggle at times this season, which is a reflection on their respective records. I look at both of these offenses. Which run game is going to get going and which quarterback is going to be able to feed off of that? Marcus Mariota, the veteran for Atlanta, or Kenny Pickett, the rookie for Pittsburgh? And then, of course, these defenses. The Steelers are getting healthy, and that is going to be a problem for a lot of their opponents coming down the stretch. But I look at Atlanta after the hard luck loss on the road last week against Washington. I think they do just enough to get back on track tomorrow. And because of that, I'm going to take the Falcons at home by the score of 20-17. Now at Soldier Field, you're going to have the 4-8 Green Bay Packers getting ready to clash with the 3-9 Chicago Bears. And of course, the question is, are the Packers done, as they have consistently had hiccup after hiccup on this season? Aaron Rodgers, their future Hall of Fame quarterback, is banged up, and you just have to wonder if and when Green Bay will make the move to Jordan Love. On the flip side, for Chicago, their young signal caller, Justin Fields, is expected to be back, but Fields has been doing it more with his legs as opposed to his arm so far this season. I look at Green Bay, they've got too much talent to be 4-8, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. But I think the Packers will get it done tomorrow by the score of 30-21. Now at Ford Field, you're going to have the 4-7 Detroit Lions hosting the 4-7 Jacksonville Jaguars. And the question, of course, is which one of these young teams is going to figure it out? The Lions suffered a heartbreaking loss last week at home on Thanksgiving Day to the Bills, which put an end to their 3-game winning streak. While on the flip side for Jacksonville, they came back and won a game that they were expected to lose at home against the Baltimore Ravens. You look at Trevor Lawrence, the young quarterback for Jacksonville, and as the weeks continue to progress, he's getting more and more comfortable in this system under head coach Doug Peterson. On the flip side for the Lions, it's one of those where it's not reflective in their record, but this team continues to fight, scrap, and claw for their head coach, Dan Campbell, as they have really taken on his personality. You can throw the records out of the window for this one because I think this is going to be one of the more competitive games of the weekend in the NFL. But when it's all said and done, I'm going to take Detroit to get by Jacksonville by the score of 31-30. Now, in the Twin Cities, you're going to have the 9-2 Minnesota Vikings hosting the 7-4 New York Jets. And will Mike White and the Jets be able to get a road win in Minneapolis tomorrow? And I say that because we saw what this offense looked like, and it looked totally different. And speaking of the Jets, last week with Mike White under center as opposed to Zach Wilson. Of course, now they have to take that on the road. The level of competition has definitely increased as opposed to facing the Bears when you're dealing with the Minnesota Vikings. But then I look at this Jets defense. And of course, the matchup that I want to zero in on is Sauce Gardner, the rookie cornerback for New York, going up against Justin Jefferson, one of the better receivers in the game. That's going to be an important matchup. And I think it's going to be a lot of back and forth. There's going to be a lot of chatter out there between both of these two players. But then again, Minnesota, why not go to your run game as well with the likes of Dalvin Cook? And then you have a TJ Hawkinson. Will he be able to put stress on this Jets linebacking core. We got to wait and see. And then how will this Vikings offensive line hold up against the Jets defensive line? I think this is going to be a back and forth affair, classic chess match, if you will. But I'm going to take Minnesota at home in this one by the score of 29-22. Now, the team that the Jets share a home stadium with, and I'm talking about the New York Football Giants, they will be at MetLife Stadium tomorrow to host the Washington Commanders. And it's kind of like the old days in the NFC East. And I'm talking about when Joe Gibbs was the head coach of Washington and Bill Parcells was the head coach of Big Blue. And I say that because both of these teams are in December with winning records. And it's been a while since we've been able to say that, but things have been different for both of these clubs. But the Giants, they come into this contest losing three out of their last four. They were game on Thanksgiving Day against the Dallas Cowboys, but the talent level between both of these two division rivals is not there. You think about Washington and this team, they have taken on the image of their head coach, Ron Rivera. And with that said, it's not pretty at times. And I'm not saying going here to say, whether or not Ron Rivera is not a good looking guy. No, but the way they go about their business is not pretty. And they find ways to win and they're fighting, they're scrapping, they're clawing. And just when you think they're down and you got them down, that's when they strike up and get you. I look at this game, it's going to be very interesting. Field position and turnovers are going to play a big part of it. You look at Giants quarterback Daniel Jones, and he has had immense success throughout his young NFL career versus Washington. But what New York needs to do, they have to get back to their run game, and it's easier said than done. We know what Saquon Barkley can do, and he's showing that when he's healthy. But teams have made adjustments on the Giants as the season has progressed. They are stacking the box, and they're basically daring Daniel Jones and these receivers to beat them. We saw Giants head coach Brian Daboll open up the playbook more during the Dallas game, and the Giants just have to execute. That's what it's going to come down to. So let's see what this Giants offense can do. They're going up against an improving and stingy Washington defense. And then on the flip side for this Giants defense, can they find a way to slow down Washington quarterback Tyler Heineke? I think this Washington team has responded to Heineke more as opposed to Carson Wentz. And the proof is in the pudding due to the fact that the Commanders are winning games. The over under on this game is 40 and a half. I'm going to stick with the under, but I'm going to take the underdogs in this one. The Giants come in down by 2, but I'm going to take the Giants to escape with the home win over Washington by the score of 18-17. Now, right down the road from MetLife Stadium, you're going to have the 10-1 Philadelphia Eagles hosting the 7-4 Tennessee Titans. And for Tennessee, will they be able to stymie the Eagles? And you think about how Tennessee can get after you on defense, and they can make life tough for opposing offenses. So I want to see what Mike Vrabel and company have cooked up for Jalen Hurts and this Eagles offense. The Tennessee offense, of course, it's predicated by what Derrick Henry can and can't do, and I think you're going to expect a heavy dose of him in this contest, which means that the onus is going to be on the likes of Fletcher Cox and others on that Philly defense. This is going to be a physical, paint swapping type game. But when it's all said and done, I'm going to take Philadelphia at home by the score of 27-20. Now, moving right down that East Coast, you're going to have the 7-4 Baltimore Ravens hosting the hapless and 3-8 Denver Broncos. And for me, why should Denver even show up? They're down as a 9.5 point underdog in this one. Their offense is hapless. Their defense is keeping them in the games. And if the Broncos had some semblance of order at quarterback and on offense as a whole right now, you're talking about a team that's easily 8-4, if not 9-3. Nonetheless, this Broncos defense, I think, is going to do their part to try to keep Denver in this game and try to slow down Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. But on the flip side, can this Broncos offense get it going, especially against this Baltimore defense? I don't think so. And when it's all said and done, I'm going to take the Ravens at home by the score of 34-17. Now you're going to have the 1-9-1 Houston Texans hosting the 4-7 Cleveland Browns. Cleveland comes into this contest favored by 8 points over Houston. And of course, all eyes are going to be on Deshaun Watson. This is Watson's first game against his former team. And on top of that, this is his first NFL game in nearly 2 years. So let's see how much rust that he has. When you think about a rusty quarterback, you got to rely on your running game. And the Browns can run the football very effectively with Nick Chubb. And I expect a heavy dose of him tomorrow afternoon as Watson tries to get back on track with his career. Not a lot of semblance of order on offense for the Houston Texans. And because of that, I think they're going to fall by the wayside in this contest at home. Thus, I'm going to take Cleveland by the score of 24-17. Now in Inglewood, you're going to have the 3-8 Los Angeles Rams hosting the 6-5 Seattle Seahawks. And what a difference that the beginning of the season makes, because a lot of people expected the Seahawks to be the team to finish in the basement of the NFC West. But right now, the Rams are on pace. Injuries and age have really caught up to the defending champs very quickly. Matthew Stafford is on injured reserve. Aaron Donald is not going to start tomorrow either. And they're facing a Seattle team that has a lot of confidence. And this is a team that gets after you. Now, I know that the Seahawks suffered a tough home loss in overtime last Sunday to the Raiders. But I expect Seattle to try to go back out there and establish their run game with rookie Kenneth Walker III. This Rams team, if there was ever a club that needed to get to the offseason and just simply press the reset button right now, this side of Denver, I would say the Rams. And because of that, I'm going to take Seattle on the road by the score of 31-20. Now, in the Bay Area, you're going to have the 7-4 San Francisco 49ers hosting the 8-3 Miami Dolphins. And there's a lot of familiarity with the coaching staffs in this one because Mike McDaniel, the current Dolphins head coach, was the offensive coordinator last year for the San Francisco 49ers. So there's plenty of it's going to be a real cat and mouse game tomorrow between himself and, of course, Kyle Shanahan on the other side. But make no mistake, you look at this Niners pass rush. Can they go out there and get the Tua? That's going to be the big thing. And can they keep him in the pocket enough to kind of slow down and try to neutralize the quick pass game to the likes of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? That's going to be important as well. You look at both of these teams, they've really stacked the deck with athletes on both sides of the football. Both of these teams are going to be playoff teams. Both of these teams have what it takes to make deep playoff runs as well, but only one can win tomorrow. And I'm going to give that edge to San Francisco at home by the score of 30-28. Now in Cincinnati, it's an AFC Championship game rematch as you're going to have the 7-4 Bengals hosting the 9-2 Kansas City Chiefs. And for Cincinnati, they come into this game as a 2-point underdog. And honestly, part of me feels that's disrespectful because you go out there and you see this Bengals team. They knocked off the Chiefs twice last year. They've already they did in the Tennessee Titans to end their postseason dreams last year, and then they just got the best of the Titans last Sunday, and now they're doing it again with another team that they knocked off last year in the Chiefs. This Chiefs offense is rolling, and of course Patrick Mahomes is playing like an MVP candidate again. But on the flip side, Joe Burrow continues to do good things in the NFL, and now he's expected to get his guy back at wide receiver in Jamar Chase for this contest. I look at the defenses. Cincinnati, it's not pretty at times, but they know how to get after you when the game is on the line. And on the flip side for Kansas City, not a lot of star power on defense, but they are a fluid machine under defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo. This has the potential to be one of the better games of the weekend, and it would not surprise me once again to see both of these clubs meet twice this season. And when it's all said and done, I'm going to take Cincinnati rather at home by the score of 30-27. Now in the desert, you're going to have the 4-7 Las Vegas Raiders hosting the 6-5 Los Angeles Chargers, and it doesn't matter where these teams call home, whether the Raiders are in Oakland or in LA, or whether the Chargers are in San Diego or LA. Going back to their days in the AFL, both of these teams meet and it's high stakes and it's a lot of high points and it's a lot of intensity between both of these clubs. These two teams met on this same field to end the regular season last year. Matter of fact, it was the last game of the regular season in the NFL last season. Playoff spot on the line for both of these clubs. And it was the Raiders that pulled it out at the end of overtime. These two teams met in Inglewood to begin the year, and it was the Chargers that got the better of the Raiders. And who knew that the Raiders would go into the tailspin that they've been in most of the season? But the silver and black come into this game winners of their last two walk-off road wins. They did it a couple of weeks ago in Denver against the Broncos, and they did it last week in Seattle against the Seahawks. Now let's see what they can do at home. And for this Chargers defense, they have to find a way to slow down Raiders running back Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is running for a contract. And with that said, you got to try to find a way to slow him down because he is the heartbeat of this Raiders offense. But you can't sleep on the Raiders passing game with quarterback Derek Carr and Devontae Adams. So the onus is going to be on former Raider Khalil Mack in regards to rushing that passer. But this Raiders defense led by Max Crosby, they got to be stout too, because if you allow Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert to get comfortable in that pocket and get outside of the pocket as well, he can pick you apart like a Thanksgiving turkey. The bottom line, this is going to be another back and forth game between both of these longtime AFC West rivals. The over under is 49 and a half. I'm taking the over in this one. And I'm also going to take the Raiders at home by the score of 34-33. Now, tomorrow night on NBC, and I'm not sure why this game was not flexed out, but you have the 4-7-1 Colts traveling to take on the 8-3 Dallas Cowboys. Dallas comes into this game favored by 10 and a half. And the best thing that Dallas can do, they can put this team out of their misery early. I think that the the feeling has worn off as far as the feel good part of Jeff Saturday coming in mid-season to become the interim head coach. We saw this team beat the Raiders in his first game, and as the weeks have progressed, we've seen the fact why this guy does not have the experience yet in the NFL, and it's showing in those key moments for the Indianapolis Colts. I look at this Cowboys defense, and this is a championship defense. Can they get enough out of their offense consistently? We got to wait and see. But you have a veteran quarterback in Matt Ryan for Indianapolis who's not that mobile going up against this front led by Micah Parsons and Leighton Vander Esch and company. That is a recipe for disaster. And because of that, I'm going to take Dallas by 2 touchdowns at home, 31-17. And finally, on Monday Night Football, you're going to have the 4-8 New Orleans Saints traveling to take on the 5-6 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. These two teams met earlier this season. There were some ejections at the Superdome. These two teams don't like each other, and it's another case of the Hatfields and the McCoys. Now, if there's one team that has really had the number of Bucks quarterback Tom Brady since he went to Tampa, it's this New Orleans team. Both of these teams are banged up right now. Somebody has to win this division. Every time you turn around and you think the Bucks are going to take control of the division, they don't, and they've allowed the Saints and others to hang around in this division. This is not going to be a pretty game. Somebody has to win, and I'm going to give the edge to Tampa Bay at home by the score of 24-20. So, folks, those are my picks for this weekend in the National Football League. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.